again. I have returned live from the wastelands of the internet. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you to bring you news of the week, of how things are going. Well, more or less. Let's get started today, shall we? Hezbollah in disarray after Israeli airstrike kills top commanders. Hezbollah said Saturday that a second senior commander was among 16 fighters killed in an Israeli airstrike on its Beirut stronghold the previous day, highlighting the scale of the blow to its military leadership. Israel said Friday's strike on the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital killed the head of Hezbollah's elite Radawan force, Ibrahim Aqil, and several other commanders. Coming hot on the heels of a sabotage attacks on the communications devices this week that killed at least 37 in Hezbollah strongholds, the strike raised new questions about the Iran-backed group's security arrangements and dealt a heavy blow to its fighters' morale. Hezbollah named the second commander Ahmed Mahmoud Wahabi, saying that he headed the group's operations against Israel from the onset of the Gaza war in October until the start of this year, confirming the death of Aqil, who was wanted by the United States for his involvement in the 1983 bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. Hezbollah hailed him as one of its great leaders. AFP journalists said Friday's strike left a massive crater and gutted the lower floors of a high-rise building. It is the second Israeli strike on the Hezbollah military leadership since the start of the Gaza war. An Israeli strike on Beirut in July killed Fahoud Shukur, a top operations chief for the movement. It also followed sabotage attacks on pagers and two-way radios used by Hezbollah on Tuesday and Wednesday, which killed 37 people and raised fears of a wider war. Stephanie Dujarric, spokesman for the UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez, said the world body was very concerned about the heightened escalation and called for maximum restraints from all sides. Yeah, that'll do it, UN. Oh boy, it's good that the UN has stepped up with a commentary such as that. Boy, that'll work. That'll calm things down. That'll calm things down. Feckless comments from the UN are sure to fix things. Just like this will fix things. MIT students berate Israeli professor at talk bizarrely swipe boxes of free pizza. That'll show them. Anti-Israeli students at Massachusetts Institute of Technology lashed out at his Israeli guest professor during an on-campus talk about his recent military experience and bizarrely swiped a bevy of free pizzas at the event. On Wednesday, Shahar Kavatsky, Kavadinsky, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to butcher your name, and I know I'm still doing it. All right, I'm trying to get it correct. A visiting electrical and computer engineering professor at the University of Toronto, all right, spoke at an MIT Israeli Alliance event about serving in Gaza for 4 months as an IDF reservist officer in the wake of October 7th massacre. He recounted uncovering troves of weapons stored in the Gazans' homes and detailed the Israeli military's strict rules of engagement. One woman got up, silently grabbed 4 pizza boxes, and briefly stepped out into the hallway before returning to the talk, attendees told the Post. When the moderator opened up the discussion to Q&A with the around roughly 50 attendees, the pizza pilferer berated Katavinsky and asked him how he could sleep at night knowing that he'd stand trial for war crimes, and later calling the academic a murderer, according to Will Sussman, an MIT computer science student who attended the event. Other students piled on, calling Katavinsky a genocidal war criminal and questioning him about claims that the IDF soldiers raped women, according to attendees. Facts don't matter to them, Katavinsky told the Post. They just memorized some text they wanted to say, and it's unrelated to the facts. Amid the fracas, two more students grabbed another 5 pieces as they bolted from the room, while another student waved an MIT Jews oppose genocide sign as he exited the talk. Like Hamas stealing aid, they are mimicking their heroes, one user wrote. That's exactly what it is. All right. This is a piece of side. Cambridge, Massachusetts institution is one of dozens of universities nationwide that has seen anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic hate play out in the wake of Hamas's murderous October 7th attack on the Jewish state that killed 1,200 civilians. In March, a powerful Republican-led House Committee on Education and Workforce accused the storied university of failing to protect Jewish students and demanded it hand over evidence on how it was handled complaints of anti-Semitism on the campus. Talila Khan, president of the MIT's Israeli Alliance, testified to a congressional committee in December rather, that the survey found 70% of Jewish students on campus felt compelled to hide their religious identity out of fear. This is not a surprise. Okay. This is not a surprise because these people who support Hamas. I'm against war. Don't you understand? No, man. I'm against war. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you were against war, you should have stood up there and demanded Hamas. You demanded the freaking Palestinians start acting like human beings rather than savages. Hezbollah. Oh, they killed all these people with these pagers and everything else. So basically, in an intelligence operation where they planted bombs and pagers used by Hezbollah, where Hezbollah basically was using a company that was a shell company from Israel to purchase these pagers and sell these pagers. Okay, that well, this is a war crime. Don't you understand? These were innocent civilians. No, they weren't. These were Hezbollah supporters and the Hezbollah fighters. And there was over 2,000 of these things that went off. Yes, 37 got killed. How many got wounded? They estimate that over 2,000 people were wounded in these attacks. The vast majority of which were the ones who had the pagers. Why'd they have the pagers? Now, you could say, well, these were just innocent civilians who just purchased these pagers. Who knows what their pagers these right with? I agree that there were probably people that were not technically Hezbollah running around with these pagers. I perfectly understand that that's a possibility. I also understand what a lot of you idiots don't. That those people who were dealing with the Hezbollah and everything else have no problem dealing with Hezbollah. Oh, they have a problem with Israel. Oh, they'll bitch and whine about what Israel has done, right? But they won't say a word. Well, they're scared of Hamas. They're scared of Hezbollah. That's why they don't say anything. Okay. So why are you bitching about what Israel said? Because you're not scared? That's your reasoning? That's the reasoning that you're using. Well, we're not scared of Hezbollah, or I mean, of the IDF, but we are scared of Hamas. That's why we only speak up about Israel. No. What it is you prefer Hamas because you've done nothing to get rid of them. You think they're just going to walk away? You think you're just going to walk up there with a cookie and go, here, stop being a murderous thug, and everything will be fine. La, 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 la. Is that how you think you're going to handle it? Well, you do understand. Don't you understand, though, man? They stop ambulances, and if they don't let ambulances through when people are wounded and stuff because they're Palestinians. No, they don't stop it. They stop everybody. All the ambulances coming in from the Palestinian territory. Yeah, because it's genocide. That's because it's genocide. It's not genocide. They stop the ambulances. They prevent the incursions because every time they allow the incursions, these people happily flood in there along with the people they know are carrying bombs, that they know are Hamas, that they know are going to commit terrorist acts, right? And do nothing about it. And you say, here, come with us. We will be your human shield. Just like the stupid assholes, all right, when we went to war in Iraq, all running around going, I'm going to be a human shield. I'm going to protect these schools. And they started putting them, where they started putting them, they started taking these American human shields and started putting them around weapons installations. And these freaking idiots go, well, I didn't come here for this. I didn't come here for this. They're abusing. No shit, dumbass. That's who these people's leaders are. And they do nothing to change their leadership. And it's been this way for 7, 8, 9 decades. Why do the Palestinians keep bringing up these people as their leaders? You guys keep thinking, oh, no, they just don't have a choice. They just don't have a choice. Why is their leadership all the same? Decade after decade after decade, the leadership is all the same. Why is that? Could it be because culturally they're living in the 12th century still and they do not want to change? That mentally they know how bad it is, but you know what? It's not bad enough that they'd still be more comfortable, all right, under that kind of brutality than they will sit up there and joining the civilized world. That's who the Palestinians are. And that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's at best, folks. You better wake the hell up about who these people are culturally and understand what the Arabs are like culturally. And the fact is that they won't change, all right, unless something happens to them. Cultures don't change without pressure. That pressure can be applied internally or externally. All cultures and all changes happen due to pressure. Minimized pressure has been happening with these idiots for over 70 years, and it's been minimal because it hasn't been a full-blown war. Do you have B-52s bombing these freaking places out of existence? No, but you could. Now, they say, well, the only reason you do it is because you're cowards. See, the only reason you don't do it is you're not strong enough. We are the stronger civilization because we can handle what's happening so far. And you are still terrified of bringing in real weaponry to really pound the shit out of us and cause the population to go, okay, there's now a reason to actually put an end to this, or we're all going to die. That's what it takes to change that culture. That's not true, man. If you just showed them a better way, they would. Oh, really? Explain Iran. Just putting it out there. So we'll go back to this. Just a quick check-in on the map for the Ukraine. As you can see, Massive push still. All right. No, notice what you're not seeing. You're not seeing a lot of blue. Okay. You're not seeing a lot of blue. All right, in these areas where the there's a pushback attack by the Ukrainians. Now, I don't know if that's because now they just don't want to put these kind of things up there to show what the Ukrainians are doing. That's a possibility, but I suspect it has more to do with the fact that when it comes to this, the ones who are still on the offensive overall are not the Ukrainians. It's still the Russians. It's still a meat grinder. You see a bunch of drones attacks. Now, they reported that there's been some drone attacks, all right, up in some of these other areas of Russia, all right, for example, all right, but we don't know how those are just reports from the Ukrainians, right? How accurate are they? We don't know. So let's go to this. Zelensky hopes for quick U.S. action as more arms depots are hit in Russia. Then you don't need us. A major Ukrainian drone attack set multiple Russian arms depots ablaze, destroying what Ukrainian general staff said were thousands of tons of weaponry, including missiles from North Korea. President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, appealed for a quick action from the United States to send more weapons before his visit to the White House next week in a multi-point victory plan. Ukraine has launched more than 100 drones at Russia and the occupied Korean Peninsula overnight, Russian news reports and the Defense Ministry said on Saturday. The strikes set an arms depot on fire what that appeared to be in the same town as the one struck by Ukrainian drones early Wednesday, wounding 13 people and also causing a huge blaze. Arms and munitions depots were also hit in Russia's southern Krasnodar region. The victory plan that Zelensky will present to the U.S. President Joe Biden will include long-range strike capabilities and other weapons long sought by Kiev and will serve as the basis for any future negotiations with Russia, Zelensky told reporters. Zelensky had regularly alluded to the plan's operations, but hasn't publicly outlined its contents, saying only it contains terms acceptable for the Ukraine. All right, for Ukraine to negotiate with Russia. Yeah, that'll work. Meanwhile, there's this. Zelensky says no UK or US go ahead to use long range missiles. The United States and Britain have not authorized Ukraine to use long range missiles on targets inside Russia, fearing an escalation of hostilities. President Volodymyr Zelensky said, hinting he hoped US leader Joe Biden would change his mind. However, what we have is this. Jill Biden leads one of the lame duck husband's last cabinet meetings before hosting the Rose Garden party without him. First Lady Jill Biden did most of the talking Friday at the public portion of what may be President Biden's last cabinet meeting before showing the cast of the West Wing around the Oval Office and hosting a Rose Garden event without her husband. The work is hard and the days are long, and yes, there are times when the weight of all we have before us can just feel too heavy to carry, Jill, 73, said in the Rose Garden podium of a president's usually occupied. Because Biden's not in charge of himself. Biden's not in charge of the cabinet. Biden's not in charge of it. Biden is a puppet. The fact that Kamala Harris doesn't get asked about that as the press, saying who's in charge. No one's asking her who's in charge of the White House. Her refusal to say, "Oh no, Biden's fully in charge." Really? Then why is he acting like this? Why is Jill in charge of this? Who's in charge of the White House right now? Why have you covered up for Biden? Oh, that's off limits. ABC. Really? Zelensky wants more muscles. He wants more USA. Why do you all right? Go to your friends in the EU. I thought that's what the great NATO nations were for. It's about time that the great NATO nations started stepping up. You know, like Germany, which has refused to send arms now. That said it's all up to to the EU. Like France, which sent a bunch of old and, let's be honest, pieces of shit equipment over to the Ukraine because they didn't want to actually send them anything worthwhile. Where the Netherlands has withdrawn Patriot batteries that were they agreed initially to send to the Ukraine. Why do they need U.S. support? Why is it only the U.S. is able to stand up to bullies around the world? Why is U.S. military, the only one that can do it? Don't tell me that the other militaries can, because they're not sending the aid. Where's the military aid that they can send? Where's the great munitions being delivered by the Canadians over there? Why don't the Canadians send over their M1s and their freaking F-16s? Why don't they turn them on over? What are the Italians handing them? What are the Hungarians doing? Aside from supporting the Russians. What are the Romanians doing? Aside from supporting the Russians. Why is it only the U.S. military is able to stand up to these people? Where are the great Swedish vegan fighters? Why aren't they taking the vegans in Sweden supporting this? All right, and sending the vegan fighters over to the Ukraine to go deal with those rascally and so forth Russians. What's Norway doing? What's Belgium doing? What's Austria doing? What's Spain doing? How much aid has been given to them from Portugal? What's the other great NATO ally, Turkey, doing? Aside from helping to ship frickin' Shahed missiles over to Russia. Why does it have to be United States doing this? Don't you understand? No, man, it's about freedom. It's about freedom. Zelensky's not. Why did Zelensky? If it's about freedom, why did Zelensky cancel elections? This is no more about freedom than anywhere else. It's one dictator versus another dictator. Why should I support Zelensky over Putin? Putin is a bigger threat. They have nuclear weapons. Don't you understand, nomad? Huh? I have less of a problem with Russian and the Ukrainians than I do with the Chinese. What are we doing with the Chinese? Who's helping us with China? Who's doing this? The Germans sent a battle. The Germans sent a destroyer to go into the Taiwanese Strait. Yeah, why isn't it in the Persian Gulf? We could actually do something. Or in the Red Sea to try and stop freaking ship attacks from the Houthis. Why isn't it there? You want to stop the attacks from the Houthis? I can tell you how to do it. Nobody will like it. You walk in and you sit up there and tell the Houthis very, very simply, you won't exist pretty soon. We're going to flatten this entire area. Any place that we find people living, we're going to wipe out the entire villages. We're going to wipe out entire tribes. All right, unless you stop this shit. And it's that simple. You've got 48 hours, and if we have anything that happens after 48 hours, all right, we're going to come in with B-52s and level the entire country until you guys agree not to fire missiles at us. You Americans can't do that. And it'll end. Because that's all they understand. They have been acting the same ways that they've acted for over 1,000 years. This is how the people have acted. And they don't see a reason to change because you say, well, can't you be nice? Don't believe me? FBI says Iran tried to send hacked files to Democrats. It's another sign of foreign meddling. No, they got caught sending this, and the Democrats were very happy to receive it until they realized it was worthless. When the FBI said this week that Iran had tried to provide Democrats with materials stolen, they hadn't tried, they did. All right, from Donald Trump's campaign, it was only the latest allegation of foreign interference in U.S. elections. The 2024 presidential election is encountering a spate of efforts by adversaries to weaken faith in the outcome and potentially alter the results, which much of the attention has been focused on Iran. Russia is still seen as the biggest threat, and nobody says a flippin' word about China. The great ally of both Russia and Iran, China, isn't even mentioned. Boy, the FBI is. They're on it, man. Boy, they got this one. The president said there's no indication that these hacking efforts were successful, but several media organizations said last month they received partially stolen data. But there's no but it wasn't. There's no indication it was successful. This is your FBI, folks. These are the commentary from somebody in the FBI. There's no indication that those efforts were successful, but yeah, several media organizations have the information. Let's change gears for a little bit. Elon Musk backs down in Brazil. Elon Musk suddenly gave up after defying court orders in Brazil for 3 weeks. Musk's social network X capitulated. In a court filing on Friday, the company's lawyers said that X had complied with orders from Brazil's Supreme Court in a hopes that the country would lift a block on its site. The decision was a surprise move by Mr. Musk, who owns and controls X, after he said he had refused to obey what he called illegal orders to censor voices on his social network. Mr. Musk had dismissed local employees and refused to pay fines. The court responded by blocking X across Brazil last month. Now, X's lawyers said the company had done exactly what Mr. Musk had vowed not to do, take down accounts that a Brazilian justice ordered removed because the judge said they would threaten Brazil's democracy. X also complied with the justice's other demands, including paying fines and naming a new formal representative in the country. Brazil is one of the most important international markets, with analysts estimating that it had more than 20 million users for X. Since X has been blocked, Brazilians have flocked to the social network's rival, Bluesky and Threads, which is owned by Facebook. The longer X remains blocked, the more Mr. Musk risks losing market share and revenue. I guess Musk is not what he thought he was. The problem with all this is when companies pick winners and losers in the market, and that's what you're seeing. You have the Supreme Court of Brazil, which has no interest in freedom of speech, right? And Brazil is going to descend into massive chaos. Okay, it's only a matter of time before Brazil is considered persona non grata, and the only people who'll be going to it are people like Tom Brady. And I say that not because of Giselle and Bunchen and everything else, but I say that from what I mean by that is the people that'll be traveling to Brazil are only going to be the rich, the super rich. That's what's going to be left. Because the policies of their country, of these leftists, is not sustainable. It's quickly devolving into areas controlled by several warlords. And pretty soon the drug warlords are going to control huge swaths of every major city in Brazil. Meanwhile, Microsoft to reopen meltdown nuclear reactor plant for AI energy needs. Microsoft announced Friday the reopening of a partially melted down nuclear plant, the first time a decommissioned U.S. nuclear plant had been brought back into service, and the first time a commercial nuclear power plant's entire output has been allocated to one customer, aiming to feed the growing energy needs of Microsoft's AI operations. Now, this is from Xinhua News from Sacramento, the United States. Microsoft and Constellation Energy announced a groundbreaking deal Friday to reopen the partially melted down 3 Mile Island nuclear plant. All right, with the tech giant purchasing all of the power for the 20 years after restart. The deal marked the first time a decommissioned U.S. nuclear plant has been brought back into service, and the first time a commercial power plant's entire output has been allocated to one customer. The agreement aimed to feed the growing needs of Microsoft's artificial intelligence operation while restarting the infamous Pennsylvania facility, the site of the worst nuclear accident in U.S. history. Constellation Energy, the plant's owner, planned to restart 3 Mile Island's Unit 1 by 2028 at a cost of $1.6 billion. The unit sits adjacent to the reactor that suffered a partial meltdown in 1979, an event that sent the nation into a panic and dealt a blow to the nuclear industry. And it did that. There's no doubt about that. The nuclear power plant never should have been allowed to be shut down, said Joseph Dominguez, the chief executive of Constellation, in a press release. He added that the nuclear plant would produce as much clean energy as all the renewables built in Pennsylvania over the last 30 years. The restarted facility would provide Microsoft with 835 megawatts of electricity, equivalent to powering 800,000 homes. According to the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission on March 28th, in 1979, the Unit Number 2 reactor core at 3 Mile Island partially melted down when the equipment malfunction, compounded by human operator errors, caused a water pump failure that resulted in the loss of coolant to the reactor. The partial meltdown led to the release of radioactive gases and iodine into the environment. Although no deaths or injuries were directly linked to the incident, Unit 2 remains sealed with its highly radioactive core encased in concrete. The revival of 3 Mile Island is part of a broader trend of tech companies seeking reliable zero-emission power sources to support their expanding data centers and AI technologies. However, Microsoft's plan has significant regulatory hurdles and public skepticism. Constellation must clear intensive safety inspections from the NRC, which has never before authorized the reopening of a nuclear power plant. The company expects the review process to be completed by 2027. So this isn't happening anytime soon, number one. And number two is, if the Harris administration is in power at that point, if Kamala Harris wins, so much for this power installations. I'm just pointing it out to you. It's never going to happen. Excuse me, folks. I gotta blow my nose here real quick. You guys don't need to hear me, blowing my nose, really. The partial meltdown of the reactor, um, in conjunction with the considerable effort of Hollywood right, at the time, right, which had created, the China syndrome, right? It, it had such a massive effect on idiots, all right, who didn't understand and are terrified. And it's caused people to be terrified of radiation. And it's not that radiation isn't dangerous. And it's not that there can't be things that can happen. But it's, well, what's worse? A possible meltdown of a reactor every 2 decades? Or with where the majority of those accidents are minor? How many Chernobyls and Fukushimas have we had, folks? How many Fukushimas and Chernobyls have we had? No, man, don't you understand? I mean, you're just mentioning two things, yeah? How many people were hurt? There were people hurt in Fukushima and obviously Chernobyl. People die. How many people die in oil rigging, in oil rigs? Every 5 years, you hear about an oil platform where people end up dying. Dozens. There's no perfect solution to this, but I can tell you one thing. This idea that you're going to do it with renewable energy, like with solar power, shows that you have no understanding of even how solar panels even work. You truly don't. Truly don't. You're not going to sit up there and be able to run the energy on solar power. And the energy needs are just going to expand. So if you don't want to use, and you're terrified of using nuclear power, what are you going to supplement it with? Tiny Kentucky town is rocked as their sheriff is jailed in the killing of a prominent judge. Residents of the tiny Appalachian town struggled Friday to cope with the shooting involving two of its most prominent citizens, a judge who was gunned down in his courthouse chambers, and a local sheriff charged with his murder. It's just so sad that I just hate it, said Michael Watts, the lecture circuit, county circuit court clerk. Both of them are friends of mine. I've worked with both of them for years. It wasn't clear what led to the shooting. A preliminary investigation indicates Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins shot District Judge Kevin Mullins multiple times following an argument inside the courthouse, according to Kentucky State Police. Mullins, 54, who helped the judgeship, who held the judgeship for 15 years, died at the scene. Steins, 43, surrendered without incident. He is charged with one count of first-degree murder. The fatal shooting stunned the tight-knit town of Witzburg, the county seat with a population of 1,700 people, 145 miles southeast of Lexington. Steins was deposed on Monday in a lawsuit filed by two women, one of whom alleged that the deputy forced her to have sex inside Mullins' chambers for for 6 months in exchange for staying out of jail. All right. The lawsuit accuses the sheriff of deliberate indifference in failing to adequately train and supervise the deputy. The now former deputy sheriff, Ben Fields, pleaded guilty to raping the female prisoner while she was in home incarceration. Fields was sentenced this year to 6 months in jail and 6.5 years on probation for rape, sodomy, perjury, and tampering with a prisoner's monitoring device. The Mountain Eagle reported. 3 charges related to a second woman were dismissed because she is now dead. Steins fired Fields, who succeeded him as Mullins' bailiff, all right, for a conduct unbecoming after the lawsuit was fired in 2022. The Courier Journal reported at the time. Um, those who know both the sheriff and the judge had nothing but praise for them, recalling how Mullins helped people with substance abuse disorder get treatment and how Steins led efforts to combat the opioid crisis. They worked together for years and were friends. Sounds like there was something else going on. It really, really does. It will be interesting when all this plays out because I have a feeling, all right, that the judge isn't clean. Just putting it out here. I'm not saying the sheriff's clean because we obviously see that problem, but it's looking as if this judge was possibly dirty. Don't know. All right, this needs to be investigated. I'll try and keep on this to find out what more happens with this because this is going to get salacious. Look out, Gen Z! Gen A is after you. They love YouTube and Netflix, and advertisers are courting them already, even though they are no older than 14. Advertisers such as YouTube and Netflix are already turning their attention to Generation A marketing videos after the recent viral Gen Z trend. From videos promoting museums to zoos, companies have turned to using Gen Z slang as a way to broaden their outreach on social media. Firearms expert Mark Murray Fluter, 65, became a social media star for his awkward delivery of terms such as Rizzler, the main character, energy, and pop off queen when showing off the royal armories in Leeds. But now it appears that those born since 2011, considered Generation Alpha, are being targeted by the next social media trend. for anyone born between 46 and 64, they were considered baby boomers. All right, so you got a good 20 years there. If you were born between 65 and 79, what happened to be 89? Oh, they're just Gen Z. Okay? Or Gen X, excuse me. From 1980 to 94, another 15 years. Isn't it funny how 18 years, well, not quite 20, but 18 years, from 46 to 64, right? It's really 19 years if you include all the years, right? You got 19 years there, and then all of a sudden they start cutting the years way back. Okay? All right, for the other generations. I wonder why. You're a millennial, and if you were from 1980 to 94, you're Gen Z if you're from 1995 to 210. So they're targeting children. Marketers targeting children. Does this surprise anybody? Does this surprise you or anybody else? Does it? It's a stupid freaking non-informational piece. But it's also stupid in another reason. Gen A and Gen Z are not going to have the disposable cash. Just warning you now. To actually purchase any of this stuff. Japan and U.S. scientists win the IG Nobel Prize for study on anal breathing. Cambridge, Massachusetts, a group of 11 Japanese and American scientists won the IG Nobel Physiology Prize Thursday for finding that many mammals can breathe with their intestines via the anus. Group leader Takanori Takabe, all right, Take Takibi, Takibi, I guess is how you say it. I'm not trying to butcher your name, sir. A professor at Tokyo Medical and Dental University said in remarks about receiving the spoof prize that he hopes the finding can someday help treat people who suffer from respiratory problems. The IG Nobel organizers said the awards are for research that makes people laugh and makes them think. The researchers first paid attention to loaches that can breathe through their intestines in low oxygen environments, such as in mud. Though the experiments using mice, pigs, and pigs with respiratory diseases, they found that administering oxygen rich liquid in the rectum helped ease symptoms. Takibi, 37, told Kyoto News, by nature, some people's lungs do not function properly, especially when they are newborn babes. And I hope the research will develop into an effective treatment method for those who have difficulty receiving artificial respiration. What could go wrong? Oh my god. Syringe sicko charged with a squirting spree. Meet Sean Uribe, I'm not trying to mispronounce your name. The leading candidate for Dirtbag of the Month. In two separate incidents, cops alleged Uribe 35, followed female victims around Miami, Florida department stores and used a medical syringe to squirt an unknown liquid on the buttocks of his targets. While brandishing the syringe in one hand, Ruby was filming the vile acts with his cell phone. According to police reports, he squirted a juvenile in late June at the Ross Dress for Less store. The girls told the cops that other shoppers alerted her that a man used a syringe to excrete an unknown liquid on her buttocks and began filming her. The suspect fled after witnesses contacted store employees. The episode, which was captured by store surveillance camera, left a liquid stain on the girl's jean shorts. In late last month, cops began investigating a battery at Marshall's store that mirrored the June incident. The male suspect approached a woman from behind and used a syringe to spray an unknown substance on the victim's left buttocks area. The man who appeared to be recording the victim matched the physical description of the suspect in an earlier crime and was wearing identical Miami's Dolphins baseball cap. The victim in the August 29th incident was in shock, and before she could confront the male, he walked away from her and out of the store. She later picked Ruby up from out of a police photo lineup. Pictured above, he was arrested last week and charged with battery on a child, a felony, 2 misdemeanor battery counts, and a felony tampering with evidence charge. Uribe posted bond yesterday and will be subject to house arrest. A judge previously ordered him to stay away from the victims and from department stores. During a post-arrest interview, Uribe reportedly confessed and said that the liquid in the syringe was Cetaphil, a moisturizing lotion. He also claimed to have deleted all videos from his phone. The guy is a degenerate. Investigators showed up at the house, seized 3 medical syringes containing a viscous white fluid consistent with that of semen, clothing, and other potentially forensic evidence. The contents of the confiscated hard drives are being reviewed by police and could result in additional charges. What's the world coming to, folks? The mystery of an SUV seen perched atop a Florida dumpster was revealed to have involved a poorly timed parking job, a construction site, and a forklift. Scott Greenberg said that he was on his way to the store when he spotted a vehicle parked on top of a dumpster off East Point Drive in Fort Myers. I had to do a double take. I texted my buddy. I'm like, is that fair game? Is that free? It's in a dumpster. Greenberg told WBBH TV. It turned out that the SUV had been lifted onto the dumpster by a forklift operated by a construction worker helping to build a new apartment complex. Workers said that the vehicle had been parked in a work area. Sometimes when you park where you're not supposed to, this is what happens, the construction worker said. The vehicle was later removed from the dumpster and relocated to a parking space from away from the work area. Construction workers said that they learned that the SUV belonged to a contractor who loans it out to out-of-town workers in need of transportation. Explains what what it was on site for. Again, in a rehash of news again, Chinese zoo exhibit features dogs disguised as pandas. A Chinese zoo exhibit is raising controversy online after a video showed a pair of dogs with their fur colored to look like pandas. The video posted in Douyin, China's version of TikTok, went viral this week. All right, after showing the two fluffy Chow Chow dogs with their fur artificially colored to resemble pandas at the Shanwei Zoo in southern Guangdong province. It does not appear that the zoo was intending to mislead visitors, however, as a photo shared by CNN shows a sign identifying the animals as panda dogs. We are called panda dogs. A pet dog that looks like a panda died and dressed up by Chow Chow. We are friendly, gentle, smart, cute, and adorable. Taizhou Zoo of the Jingzhou province courted a similar controversy earlier this year when the animals in its panda exhibit were revealed to be Chow Chow with their fur dyed. The zoo spokesman explained that the zoo put the dogs on display because it does not want or does not have any resident pandas, but he denied the fur dyeing process was in any way dangerous or harmful to the canines. Oh my goodness. Once again, a story that I did earlier comes back and so forth. Escaped pigs wrangled at school kids cheer. And we'll watch this for a little bit. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's pig wrangling. As the cops go after the porker. He's on the run. He's going left. He's going right. He's on a soccer. I don't know how he got on a soccer field. Right? Be better if he had a ball. Right? Looks like it's also part of a football field as well, which is of course very very common. Dun 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 dun. Dun. Pork on the hoof. Pork on the hoof, everybody. A pair of pigs on the loose for 2 days in the British Columbia city were wrangled after prolonged chase before an audience of cheering elementary school students. The pigs, which had been wandering the neighborhoods of West Kelowna, all right, for at least 2 days, were spotted Wednesday near Marjock Elementary School, leading police and animal control and multiple rescue groups to respond. We ended up catching the first pig really easily in the field. It actually went very smooth. We got him into the van, but the other little guy, he was out. So probably about 30 minutes of up and down the hills. We ended up getting him into the corner of a yard with a bit of fencing that had broken, said Jacinda Bayer of Petra's Potty Cures, all right, told Castanet, all right, Faith Affleck, owner of Star's Piggly Wiggly Sanctuary, said the watching elementary students were clearly on the side of the pig. Go, piggy, go! They were cheering for him. Pigs are cared for at the Star Piggly Wiggly Sanctuary while officials attempt to identify the owner. All right, the one of the pigs that I saw there was clearly a barrow. All right, which means it was a castrated male pig, which means most likely that this pig was on its way to market at some point and got away. Okay, you've probably been doing the kids a favor if you took the pig and you showed people how these things are, that this is what you're eating in your school lunches. I think that would be better. P.T. Barnum would be proud. Are there any Ponderosa restaurants? That's a good question. I used to. I remember when I was very young, right, that we would go to the Ponderosa for steak, on very celebratory type of days. All right, once in a blue moon, and we were all happy as kids to go. But it is what it is, folks. But that's all I got for today. Appreciate everybody coming out. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Nice to see you there, James. Talk to you later. Bye bye, everybody.